Hello, my name is Robert Sila, and I've been doing these videos that you've been watching or going to watch. And there's a few things I'd like to add to this. Basically, I wanted to talk a little bit about some safety features, and I'd like to focus about some basic rules that we follow in the machine shop. Like I said, these are basic things that you should really do. Safety is very important. I've been in this field for 45 years. I hopefully know what I'm doing. And also, I've been teaching this course for 15 years. And I love every second of it. I'm glad the students, they're there for me. It just makes me very happy to be able to give what I know. The first things I'd like to talk about quickly is some safety rules. I'll just go over some of these here. As for like proper dress, actually I'm kind of dressed for machine shop right now. As you can see, I'm not wearing a suit. Comfortable clothes, basically short sleeve shirts, as you can see here. Helps. Long sleeve gets you into trouble. We have work coats that you can wear. They're long sleeve sometimes. When you get on that machine, you might want to roll them up. The students always do. Next thing, as far as I can see, is safety glasses are very important. If you can get steel-toed shoes, they are also very helpful if you're handling bigger and heavier material in the future. Like I said, roll up your sleeves. Wristwatch and rings, I have them, I keep them off. If you have long hair, you might want to kind of like net it back or possibly wear a little hat. Anytime you're lifting, super important. Back's very important. You got to lift with your legs. Lift with your legs. Lift with your legs, not your back. And you'll be tempted many times in your life to use your back. Don't do it. Cell phones and other things that could distract you, I would say try to keep it off to the side. Generally speaking, your cell phones will let you know if someone gave you a call or if someone's looking for you. You could check it maybe over by your area. Enough of that. Let's talk about air and air pressure. A lot of people, they like to clean the machines and using air. They like to clean parts and using air. Be very careful with air pressure. You can get hurt and seriously hurt someone else. Absolutely, I would kind of refrain from air and I'd be very careful with it. Low pressure in the machine shop is what they try to do. A lot of times machines come in there, high pressure, and the air pressure on the machine is high pressure. So if you get a low pressure one, that would be much safer and much better. You have to think of the other person. Let's see. Obviously, you wouldn't want to run a machine without some type of help or experience if you have no idea what you're doing on it. And even in times when you think you do know what you're doing, it's helpful that as you're getting used to it, you have someone check your work or check your setup, check what you're doing. That's a big plus, because there are things that you may not see that an experienced person might say, well, you might want to do this a little differently, you might want to do that a little differently. That's also a big plus. And obviously you would ask your instructor if you're not positively sure on anything. Let's see. Your hands, I got 10, still have them very carefully. I tell my students, do not do what I do. I've been out there quite a long time, and I would have to say I would do things only from my experience. A student, in fact, most of the time they say, Professor, I would never do that, and that's a good thing. But you have to watch out, moving parts, the chuck, your tool bits. I have rules that I tell them, listen, if you're going to use your tailstock, fine. Remove anything from your compound. Move tool bits away, because your hands tend to be busy, and at this point you could hit a sharp tool. If you're going to use your tool, then your tailstock is slid out of the way, and you can focus on what you have. And again, like I said, if you have a chuck up, very important. That thing is very unforgiving, so you want to be careful with that. So, Let's see, pinch points. Yeah, if you're taking your tool on and off, or if you're moving something, you got handles and levers. Watch yourself that you don't get your fingers pinched in certain areas. That would come from basic thinking about what you're doing before you do it. Just look at it first. Let's see, what else we have? Okay, when you're machining, some of the videos you've seen me machining, and I have chips coming off the machine, those things can cut you very, very severely. If the chip is stringy, then there's several reasons for that to give it to you quickly. You may have a feed that's too slow. You may have the RPMs that are going a little too slow or too fast. If it's stringy, you might vary those slightly to break the chip. If it's a situation where you can't and it's the way it is, stop the machine, get a screwdriver or an applicable tool to remove the chips. Do not use your hands. If you do, make sure you have gloves on for that moment. It's not really good to run a machine with gloves on. I highly not recommend that either. Okay, let's see. Or never leave the machine running while unattended. CNC machines are excluded from that because that's their thing. They generally run when they're not attended. Let's see. Watch out for removing chips, maybe sharp, no, first aid. Okay, know where your fire extinguishers are in the building, in the room you're in, and know how to apply them. And also where they're located, obviously. Very important. And the first aid kits. If you look around, they always have first aid kits somewhere. If you need something in a hurry, Band-Aid or this, or maybe peroxide something, always know where they are. Next thing is almost down to the bottom here. If you do get hurt, you should report it to your professor, even if it's a scratch. Always just say, here, look, I got a little scratch, I did this, I did that. Most of the time, a person or a student is, they're a little afraid to say something, but it's okay. Your professor will understand it, no problem. And if it's serious enough, he'll take care of it. He knows exactly what to do. He's been briefed on exactly how that gets taken care of. So report it to your professor or the person in charge. Obviously, use common sense on almost everything you're doing in there. And also, as you're doing your own thing, it sometimes pays to look around, be alert to what else is going on around you. Someone else may be making a mistake. And that should sum up some of the safety rules, and there's probably more that you probably get involved with as time goes by. The second thing I'd like to really talk about are some of the rules that you should follow in the machine shop, just basic rules. I have 10 listed here. I'd just like to, just name some of them that seem to be very important. They come up a lot, and that is in the workplace, you want to keep your work area organized. I, for one, like to operate a machine. I like to use a lot of tools, a lot of measuring tools, prints, and everything. Basic rules are, if you got a lathe and a chip pan or an area close by, I would put a pad and put all my working tools down. Up above or in an area where I have access to, I would always put my measuring tools or a pencil, your method sheet or your print. Keep that handy or attach it to a part of the machine. They usually have an area you could do that, so that you have those things there. Because if you start getting conglomerated, you're going to find maybe calipers that you have or a micrometer that you have personally that could cost $50, $100. It's going to fall on the floor. And it's going to make you very unhappy. If it belongs to the company, they're going to be unhappy. But you keep that area where your measuring tools are neat and organized, I guarantee you, you won't have a problem. Work tools down, your measuring tools up. It also helps you to keep a pencil. I keep telling my students, have a pencil. Make sure you have cutting oil. If you're using cutting oil on a manual machine, make sure you have that there and available. Always comes in handy. I always say, basically, keep a nice file handy also. They come in handy all the time. Again, like I would also keep, which comes in handy, is a nice Sharpie. A chisel point comes in very, very handy for marking things. You can remove it quickly, and it comes in very, very handy. A Sharpie, a black Sharpie, chisel point. Let's see. It also helps if you review what you're doing. You get your tools that you need, say work tools. It could be drills, it could be a reamer, it could be knurling tools, it could be any of the cutting tools, left hand, right hand, it could be whatever you need. Get those tools first and put them down. Get organized. Being organized is $1,000,000 to getting that job done properly. You start having things all piled up where you forget this, you forget that, forget it. It's going to slow you down, and it's going to slow the professor down, or your foreman, or the person that's working with you. It's going to slow him down. He can't get to someone else that may need some help. Staying organized is very, very important. Okay, a lot of times you're getting ready, you got all this done, everything's going right. You should always practice. Practice your feeds away. Come out and away, and you're familiar. You're allowed to turn the machine on. Your automatic feeds are very important. Nice finishes. Let the machine do the work. That's what the machine was made for. Automatics. You start getting nervous and you start doing things by hand, believe me, a trained eye like myself, I could take one look, I could tell right away if you didn't use automatic. And it kind of makes me a little, I feel a little bad that you're a little nervous to do it, but I'm going to get you there. I'll get my guys there. Come on out and practice with the automatic. Do what I tell you. Do what your professor tells you, or the person that's in charge. Listen to what they tell you. Always keep your hand on the levers that you're working with, your feed levers. Because if you you engage your lever, your feed lever to go cross feed, long feed, or whatever, threading, whatever it is, and you take your hand off that lever, trust me, you're not experienced enough. And even though I'm experienced enough, that thing's got a lot of levers there. And if you take your hand off the one you just used and something goes wrong, believe me, you'll never get back fast enough. You won't know which lever to grab for first. You'll be so nervous. Keep your hand on that lever. And then when you disconnect the lever, you can shut the machine off. You can step back and see what you're doing, or look what you need to do, take a measurement, or whatever. But keep your hand on that lever. Obviously, I should have said this first. Eye protection is beyond. It's absolute must. Got to have safety glasses, no matter what. I can tell you experiences where, when I was young, I even had a pair of safety glasses on, and I had to go to the eye doctor. Why? Because the size of my safety glasses had an imperfection in it. It was kind of broke on the side, and a chip. I was young and whatever. And I was blowing some air, cleaning this, and a chip bounced off and came right through the side and caught me in the eye with safety glasses. So make sure you have safety glasses and they're proper, the correct ones, good ones. That's a good investment, trust me. Let's see, safety glasses, okay. When we are mounting a chuck or a faceplate or doing anything to the machine, and it's stopped, it's in the E-stop is on, always place a metal safety plate. They always come with one right below the spindle, so that when you're working, removing the chuck, taking the chuck on, putting the collet on, faceplate, dog, whatever you're going to be doing up there, believe me, it's going to slip out of your hand eventually, and when it goes down, it'll hit the bed on the nice ways where the carriage has to go. So to avoid that, they put a metal plate or an aluminum plate most of the time, so that if you do drop something, it lands on the plate, it's not going to damage anything. It'll make a little noise. Other people are going to know you dropped something, but it's not a big deal. Without it, it is a big deal. And you can damage the chuck, you can damage the faceplate, you can damage whatever you're putting up in there. Okay, if you borrow tools, or if you go to the tool room, you're taking the micrometers, or it doesn't matter whether it's a hammers, files, so whatever it is that you're borrowing from the tool room, bring them back, because the next person's going to be looking for them, and they're not going to be there if you have it out and don't return it when you're not using it. Let's see. Okay, basically, that covers pretty much most of the bases. I just want to add one more last thing, and that is keeping your machine clean. When you get done, they're not looking for the immaculate conception here, but you really should keep your machine clean. Get the garbage can over here, or a chip barrel. If there's a lot of chips, put the aluminum with the aluminum, metal with the metal if they do that. If not, clean off the machine, put it in a waste can, garbage can, and clean your machine down. Suggestion, work from the top down, because the chips want to go down to the chip pan. I can tell you a little secret we usually use, guys are kind of like to get done kind of quick. If the machine's clean to start, take a couple pieces of newspaper, just maybe 2 or 3 pages, put it on top of the chip pan below where you're working. Now, with those pieces of newspaper there, when you're done machining, those chips are going to be falling down onto the newspaper. When you bring that garbage can over, you can literally slide that newspaper right out into the garbage can, and you can clean the machine in a heartbeat, very quickly. My students use it a lot. And I would have to say, there's probably a lot more that I could add to that, but for now, this is Robert Seiler. I hope that I've been helping you, and you like what you see. Saying good luck.